How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the GSMC Chip Shot Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Manny Maradiaga. Today is Tuesday, August 27th. Another round of some pretty interesting NFL stories that I wanted to go through on today's show. A lot of current situations with holdouts and also just having some discussions as well. We're going to start off with Trent Williams, one of those holdout players still holding out with less than 2 weeks to go in the season. We're going to discuss why he's holding out and how it could all play out in the next 13 days. And also, another segment I have on store is Darius Slayton coming to the defense of his quarterback, Daniel Jones. What did he say about the negative comments around Jones? And also, in the meantime, calling out some other quarterbacks in regards to Daniel Jones and also not receiving the same amount of criticism. So those were pretty interesting. We have also some more topics down the line that we will get to on today's show. But before I get started, as I like to remind you guys, I have a great opportunity for you guys, basically. If you guys have any questions, comments, or any opinions you'd like to share, I always want to hear it. And now there's an easier way of going about that. If you just go ahead and use the Super Chat feature at the bottom of the screen, just click the $ at the bottom of the chat box to send in your Super Chat. This makes it absolutely sure that I can see your question, comment, or opinion and share it on today's show. It's also a great way to keep the show more interactive, more exciting, and it's just a fantastic way to keep supporting our channel. We rely on your support to keep bringing you the sports content you love, and we appreciate every bit of it. So go ahead, let us know what you're thinking, hit the Super Chat button, and let's keep this show as interactive as possible. But if you do prefer the old method, you're still able to use the tip and donations link, gsmcspodcast.net, to tip, donate, and leave a comment or question there if you still prefer that way. But we couldn't do what we're doing with this show and this channel without your guys, and we are always so thankful that you guys are able to join in and be part of our community with whatever question, comment, or opinion you'd like to share. So go ahead and use that Super Chat feature with that $ at the bottom of the chat box. But with that now out of the way, we could start on the first topic, right? Yesterday, we got one holdout out of the way, that being CeeDee Lamb. Now he is expected to return to the Dallas Cowboys, but there is still another one, not so flashy and so just eye-popping, right, just compared to the other situations, because you have Brandon Ayuk, you have Jamar Chase, you had CeeDee Lamb, you have Dak Prescott. I feel like not a lot of people are talking about Trent Williams, and like I mentioned before, there's 13 days until the San Francisco 49ers host the New York Jets in the opening Monday Night Football game on September the 9th. And still, obviously, there's no answer yet on Brandon Ayuk. I've just come to just be okay with that. It seems like before I was very anxious to see, is this going to be the day? Is this going to be the day? But now it's just like, whatever. It seems like he's going to stay, or if he doesn't, it's lost a little bit of steam with me. But Trent Williams is one that I am interested in a lot with the 49ers, just because it has almost shifted from the Dallas Cowboys in a way where you don't know what they're going to decide on, if that makes sense. They had CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott, both of those options just sitting in front of them. Who was going to take the first step in extending one of their players? And the Cowboys already got that out of the way. And now, similarly with the 49ers, it seems, they have two of their most important players now just sitting there when we're all waiting to see what's going to be the final decision and what the first step is going to be to getting at least one of those guys back participating with so little time left before the regular season. But like I mentioned, Ayuk has sort of lost some steam. I don't think anybody really knows what's going on. But with Trent Williams, it's a little bit more concrete because he is holding out. He's not there and he's not interacting with anybody. He is going the traditional route of holding out. But on top of that, he has not been there, obviously, all of the offseason, voluntary, training camp, or whatever. But, recent reports, according to ESPN, suggest that Trent Williams is not afraid to hold out during the regular season. And it seems like that could be the case with so little time left heading towards the regular season. Now, anything can really happen in the next hour while I'm doing the show or over the next few days. But today was the deadline for the final 53-man roster, deadline. All these NFL teams had to meet the deadline today by 4 p.m. Eastern time and get their rosters down. But it makes it a little bit trickier, right, when you have one wide receiver that is sort of there but is still not practicing, and also you have another offensive lineman that is just not around the team, and you have to try and calculate and predict when and if he comes back. Are you going to need to roster another offensive lineman just in case or anything like that? It makes it a lot tougher, right? And that, on top of the fact that now Williams is not afraid to hold out into the regular season, becomes a little bit of a concern. A little bit like CeeDee Lamb, but obviously the Cowboys don't have to worry about that now. And more on these reports, according to Jeremy Fowler from ESPN, he said just briefly on this Trent Williams holdout situation, he said he is not going to be available until he gets his contract adjusted. He's trying to stay away from the team and is not overly stressed to have to be out there right now. And it's not like his contract is waning down right now. Trent is still signed with the 49ers through 2026. That's not really the issue here, because Trent Williams received a 6-year, $130 million deal in 2021 with the San Francisco 49ers, and he's on a pretty decent salary, not near the top as much anymore, but, $23 million per year as a salary with this massive deal is still very well for offensive linemen in the NFL. But the issue is that with the contract and the remaining years on that contract as well, the 49ers could technically exit from his contract after this upcoming 2024 season, because his $22 million and $32 million salaries for the 2025 and 2026 year, respectively, each of those salaries for each of those years are not guaranteed anymore. So the last bit of guaranteed money he is going to get from this contract is this year, and then after it, it's just pretty much up in the air, and there's no guarantee that he will be getting that money for the remaining 2 years of that deal. And it's sort of like the Matthew Stafford situation, because he still had a year or two left on his current deal, but being a veteran player, a quarterback especially, and how much value there is there, he wanted to restructure his deal, obviously, right? Get more guarantees because of all those reasons that I just mentioned. And it's similar with Trent Williams now. Although he's not a quarterback, obviously, he doesn't get the headlines that a wide receiver or Christian McCaffrey gets, not even George Kittle most of the time. But a left tackle, an offensive lineman, you've seen how all these offensive linemen just this year, this offseason, have gotten paid. Tristan Wirfs, Christian Darrisaw, Penei Sewell, they're all making close to 30 or maybe even more than that. The exact amount is escaping me, but, they're up there getting paid a pretty decent amount for offensive linemen, especially at that tackle position. So there's a lot of value there. And I always say it, with offensive linemen, you never mention Trent Williams' name ever in a game, and for good reason, right? That's exactly what you want to happen with offensive linemen, because they're doing their job. The opposing team's pass rushers not getting anywhere near the quarterback, so it's going pretty easy, pretty smooth. And Trent Williams, unless he's knocking somebody out with a killer block or something like that, or getting out in space, again, you're not mentioning his name. And I don't know the last time he's given up a sack in any of the last few years. So that's a great thing, a great security blanket to have with Brock Purdy. All the uncertainty that came with him coming out of college, knowing that you had just an anchor over there at left tackle, goes without saying, is definitely needed, and a big reason why the 49ers offense is as special as it is, because in every position, it seems like they have some of the best players in the NFL, and that goes the same way with Trent Williams. So I don't know exactly how old he is. I want to say he's around 32 years old, if my memory serves me right, but, getting those guarantees towards the end, the latter portion of that contract, is what he's after right now, and it seems like he has no problem holding out into the regular season, and I fully believe him. It seems like Trent Williams isn't the kind of guy that jokes around like that in terms of his money and getting the compensation that I'm sure he definitely feels he deserves. So That's pretty much the update on Williams. From Williams' part, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch haven't provided anybody in the media with any updates regarding Williams or even Brandon Ayuk as well. So, we are starting to ramp it up a little bit in terms of getting back into football mode. I feel like the deadline for the 53-man roster, maybe a day or two after it, once, you get to Thursday or Friday, I think you really start getting into that work week mode, right? If that makes sense, because in just a few days, just less than a week now, you're going to be in full practice mode getting ready for the actual games to begin. And not just any team coming into Levi Stadium. You have the New York Jets coming in with Rodgers, Wilson, Breece Hall, and all the talent that they're bringing in. A great defense as well. You're going to need Trent Williams out there for sure. And now, if you kind of have to decide between Ayuk and Williams on who you try to make the priority, I would go with Williams up until this point, just because with Ayuk, it seems like he could be traded. You guys have put your best foot forward to try and extend him, but even still, there are still some difficulties with that. With Williams, I think if you just meet his requirements, he'll show up the next day. And as a veteran, he might not need as many days to get ready anyway when you're talking about a work week, a practice week, or whatnot. So that, to me, would be the priority right now. And I guess it's a good thing that Hassan Reddick's probably not going to play for the Jets, or else this would have been a bigger problem. But regardless of that, the Jets' defense is still very good. One of the best defenses in the NFL last year. So having Trent Williams out there, I don't even know who the backup is going to be, but it's a world of difference when you have the all-pro, multi-time Pro Bowler out there, surefire Hall of Famer, guarding your blind side of your quarterback than somebody else doing it. So the 49ers should get that done. This week is probably the most crucial time to do it before you get into a full practice week, but we'll see what they do with that and how it affects Brandon Ayuk as well. So we're going to leave that topic there, and we're going to head to our first break of the show. But when we return, we're going to touch some more on the New York Giants. A lot of negativity heading towards Daniel Jones, but his wide receiver, Darius Slayton, has come to his defense, and not only defending him, but sort of calling out other quarterbacks around the NFL and why they also don't get the same amount of heat that Daniel Jones does while producing the same sort of stats as he does, if that makes sense. So we're going to get into that topic plus much more later on in the show. But for right now, we're going to head to a quick break. You're listening to the GSMC Chip Shot Football Podcast.